So you've built the machine learning model, right? And you know that feeling. It works perfectly in your notebook. The results look great, but then you think, how do I actually get this thing into a real-world application? Well, that journey from a nice, clean prototype to messy, live production is where so many projects just fall apart. Today, we are going to break down exactly how to make that whole process smooth, professional, and most importantly, super robust. Here's how we're going to tackle it. First, we'll really define the production problem. Then we'll walk through the kind of painful manual workflow. After that, I'll introduce the elegant solution, the ML pipeline. We'll see how it automates everything, compare the two methods side by side, and then wrap up with why this is, no joke, an absolutely essential skill for anyone serious about machine learning.
And this really is the heart of the issue, isn't it? Getting a working model in a notebook is a fantastic first step, but it's really just a beginning. The real challenge, the part where things get complicated and projects often stumble, is getting that model out into the wild, into production, where it has to perform reliably on brand new, live data.
Okay, let's make this real with a classic example pretty much everyone knows, the Titanic data set. The goal is simple, right? We want to predict who survives based on their info, like their ticket class, their sex, their age. But if you look closer, you start to see all the ingredients of a real-world data problem. You've got missing values, you've got text categories, stuff that a machine learning model just can't handle out of the box.
All right, so how would you normally handle this if you didn't have the right tools? You'd probably start a manual step-by-step process. Let's actually walk through what that looks like, because you're going to see very quickly where all the problems start to pile up.
So what does this actually look like in practice? First, you got to deal with the missing age values. Okay? Done. Then, you've got to fill in the missing embarked ports. Next, you have to turn text, like male or female, into numbers, probably with one hot encoding. Then you do the same thing for the port names. See what's happening? Every single one of these is a separate individual step, and only after you've done all that manual labor can you finally train your model.
And what do you get for all that work? This, a total mess of files. You don't just have your one trained model file. No, you also have a separate file for the sex encoder, another one for the embarked encoder, and maybe even more for the data imputers. Each of these little files, these artifacts, has to be saved, versioned, and loaded perfectly, in the right order, in production. It's not just messy, it's incredibly fragile.
And here is the absolute kicker. When new data comes in, say a new passenger list, you have to repeat those exact same steps in the exact same order, using all those separate files. This is where it gets totally hectic and so easy to make a mistake. You forget one step, or you load the encoders in the wrong order, and poof, your predictions are complete garbage. It's a brittle system, and honestly, it's just not a professional way to write code.
But thankfully, there is a much, much better way. So let's introduce the hero of our story today, the machine learning pipeline. It's a tool that was specifically designed to solve the kind of chaos we just talked about and bring some beautiful order to our workflow.
So, what is a pipeline? Well, think of it like a container for your entire workflow. It literally chains all those steps together, filling in data, encoding text, training the model. The output of one step just automatically becomes the input for the next. The whole shebang is handled inside one self-contained automated process. Now, let's see how this completely transforms our Titanic project. We're going to do the exact same job as before. All the data cleaning, the encoding, the training, but we're going to do it in a way that is so much smarter and more streamlined.
With a pipeline, your workflow looks this simple. Seriously. You feed your raw, messy, unprocessed data right into one end. The pipeline object takes care of everything inside. The imputation, the encoding, the model training, all of it. And what comes out the other end? A single, fully trained, production-ready object. That's it. So what does this mean for our production files? Well, remember that messy folder full of artifacts? It's gone. With a pipeline, the entire workflow, all the pre-processing and the model itself, gets saved as one single clean object. One file to manage, one file to deploy, one file to rule them all. Okay, time for the aha moment. Let's put these two approaches right next to each other, head to head. You're about to see exactly why pipelines are such a massive game changer. Just look at this contrast. Files to deploy, you go from 3, maybe more, down to just 1. The production code, it goes from being complex, repetitive, and super fragile to a dead simple one-line call to your pipeline. The risk of making a mistake, it plummets from high to practically 0, because the whole process is locked inside the pipeline. It guarantees the steps run in the right order every single time. You're literally turning a brittle, hard-to-maintain system into something that's robust and easy to work with.
So let's be super clear about this. Using pipelines is not just some neat little trick or a nice-to-have skill. It is an industry-standard best practice. It's one of those things that signals you know how to build professional, production-grade machine learning systems.
You know, the power of pipelines really boils down to these four things. Simplicity. It just cleans up a multi-step mess. Robustness. It massively cuts down your risk of deploying a bug. Reproducibility. This is a big one. It guarantees the exact same steps are applied to your training data and any new data later on. And finally, efficiency. Your whole code base for training, testing, and production just becomes cleaner and so much easier to manage.
And hey, if you need one more reason, this is it. Knowing how to use pipelines is a core expectation in the industry now. If an interviewer asks you about them and you don't have a good answer, it's a huge red flag. It shows you don't just know how to build a model, you know how to build a reliable system. It shows you're ready for a real job. It's that fundamental.
So I'll just leave you with this one final thought. Your model might get an amazing score in a Jupyter notebook, but that's only half the battle. The real question, the one that truly matters, is whether it's ready for the real world. And using a pipeline is the single best step you can take to be able to confidently answer yes.